Magadi, Muria, Zimbabwe, Sanbonani, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are, on which part of the world you are. Thank you so much for joining us. Padare Namambo Sose is back. Your favorite program is now back. And I will be coming live to you every time on Saturday like we used to do. But today we have a special program here with Honorable Molokele. Thank you so much, Honorable, for agreeing to this interview. We are live here on ZimI. We are also live on Change Radio. You can take a few minutes to greet our viewers and listeners across the world.
Yes, greetings, my brother. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show. Thank you to all the listeners, to all the viewers, wherever they are, be it in Zimbabwe, in the diaspora. We are very clear in our position that this country needs a new political dispensation. The so-called new political dispensation is clearly fake. We need a new political dispensation under the leadership of the MDC Alliance. And we are very clear that when we say the MDC Alliance, we mean the leadership of Advocate Nelson Chamisa. So for us to move forward as a country, we need to unite and make sure that the MDC Alliance grows and becomes a strong movement, because it is the people's movement and it is the one that is carrying the hopes of this nation. There is only one opposition party that I trust in Zimbabwe, and that is the MDC Alliance led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa.
Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable, for those introductory remarks. But we have a lot of things that we want to discuss with you. I've already said that Honorable Malokele is a member of parliament, but he is also a lawyer by profession. So he's going to help us unpack some of the two major decisions that were made by the Zimbabwean courts. We had come not to trust the Zimbabwean courts, but in the last weeks, we have had two landmark decisions. The first one by Malaba, the Malaba case, and then we also have the last Mainga Hama and Tunga cases that were adjudicated over by the Zimbabwean courts. Very surprising decisions, very pleasing decisions. We just want you, Honorable Molokele, to walk us through these two major decisions. What's going on with the courts? Are we seeing a change with our judges? Maybe you can shed us more light there.
Thank you, my brother. I think we need to be very clear to the listeners and to the viewers that they should not overreact to these two judicial decisions. One sparrow or two sparrows do not make a summer, my brother. So they need to be interpreted in their greater context of the political contestation that is happening. I think let me start with Maengama and Madzokere. We should not forget that right from day one, this was not a criminal legal procedure thing. It was a political procedure. It is a classic case of political persecution using criminal prosecution. They were convicted using circumstantial evidence, and originally there were 4 of them in that particular case, and then 1 was allowed to go, and then there were 3, and then 2 years ago, 1 of them was allowed to go. I think she got a presidential pardon. She's now serving as a member of parliament through the recall system that we have, and she's a chair of a committee now. So for the last year, they were waiting for a Supreme Court judgment. On 3 March 2020, the Supreme Court sat and listened to arguments, and the defense team did its best to articulate the unfortunate situation which they had found themselves in. I think the listeners and viewers need to remember that a police officer was killed by a crowd, and using circumstantial evidence, Maengama and Madzokere had to spend almost 8 to 10 years in incarceration. So it's clearly a collation between the political process or the political contestation and the legal process. So make no mistake about it. The case for Maengama and Madzokere is a very political one. And the fact that the Supreme Court had the arguments on the 3rd of March, 2020, and then the judgment was passed in June 2021. That period was more than a year of waiting, of uncertainty. And it further added more to the situation which they had found themselves in. You remember the adage that says, justice denied, justice delayed is justice denied. It clearly applies in this particular case. So they are, Maengama and Madzokere are free at last, but they are clearly victims of political persecution. And definitely, we should not be excited about the fact that they've been released. We should be more worried about the fact that they were not supposed to be in jail in the first place. They were politically victimized. That is the narrative we should be shaping. We should not be throwing parties, celebrating that the judicial system is now more independent, more objective. That is not the case. We should be saying that these people were wrongfully arrested. They deserve justice. They deserve justice. That is the case with regards to Maengama and Madzokere. With regards to Malaba case, we all know that there seems to be an arrangement between the political powers that be and Justice Malaba to say that if you support us in our case, we'll also support you in your case. So there is also a collation between the political contestation and the judicial process. And in my own understanding of the situation, I think there is a risk that the judiciary is working closely with the political elite, not just in the context of the 2018 elections, but also in the context of 2023 elections. Because at the end of the day, when election results are rigged, the cry will be to say those who feel aggrieved should go to the courts. They should follow legal process. And in the process, they find Justice Malaba waiting for them there. So it's like a master plan. So the judicial situation has now been undermined by the political contestation. So let's not celebrate a lot about the judgment. As you know, that Justice Malaba has already reacted strongly, supported by the political elite. I think the Minister of Justice was very arrogant in his initial response to the judgment, and they are taking steps now to rectify it. And as we speak right now, I think there is no reason to celebrate. In fact, we started a fire that we need to control. Both cases are clearly political. That's what I would want to explain to people. And they are part of a broader process of contestation. And the contestation is between two people. The two protagonists. In fact, Advocate Nelson Chamisa is the protagonist. E.D. Mnangagwa is the antagonist. This is a clash between two titans. Ignore the other people. They are just sideshows. I don't want to lie to you. These are the two people who are fighting for political power in this country. It's a struggle between ZANU-PF and MDC Alliance. So that's what is happening at the courts. We are seeing the political contestation playing itself out at the courts. And it's very sad that our judiciary cannot extricate itself from the political contestation. It's now caught up. It's now like a spider's web kind of scenario. It's now caught up. It's now part of that process.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much, Honorable, for making that clear. But legally, does Tunga and Last, do they have any way that they can appeal or they can be compensated for those years that they spend in jail? Because honestly, 8 years, you're wrongfully arrested, wrongfully incarcerated, and then you can't just go on with life just like that as if nothing happened. Can they sue the government?
I definitely think they have a very strong case. Suing for unlawful arrest, detention, or imprisonment. Their lawyers should be able to advise them. There are a lot of precedents that they can use. So I would recommend strongly that they explore the possibility of suing the state. They cannot appeal because the Supreme Court judgment was an appeal, so they won the appeal. So what they can do is to apply for compensation. They can start a new case where they seek damages to what, in terms of what happened to them, the unlawful arrest or the wrongful arrest that they went through and incarceration. So they have a strong case to make a civil claim for damages. We don't know how much, but I think the lawyers that work closely with them will be able to research and advise them. So they should sue the state. They should sue for what they went through.
Yeah, I hope they will be able to do that because definitely justice has to be seen to be done, and maybe it might be something that the government will learn from, so that they don't continue to arrest people arbitrarily and throw them in jail like that. But moving on, Honorable, you have been very close to these two. You used to go to Chikurubi to see them. You were a regular there. And
it's true.
You did a lot for them. Have you seen them of late? Are you talking to them? Have you met them after they were released? How are they adjusting to life? When they went in, these lives were not even there. There were a lot of things that they missed on. How are they adjusting? And how can Zimbabweans help?
Thank you, my brother. I think it's so obvious that it's not easy to adjust after so many years. And especially with regards to technology, it changes so fast. The cell phones that they were using at that time, look at what is happening. The social media has evolved. Twitter has become big in this country. Facebook is no longer as powerful as it used to be. WhatsApp is king or queen or whatever you want to call it, is the most influential social media platform in Zimbabwe today. When they went into prison, WhatsApp was not, maybe it wasn't even there. Maybe it had just started. But now is the most authoritative source of information and news in this country. It's by far the largest influencer in this country. So if you are not on WhatsApp, you are not anywhere in Zimbabwe. So there's been a lot of changes. Emotionally, politically, socially, they will need to adjust. It's not easy for them. They will need a lot of financial support. They were doing some studies while they were in prison. They will need to continue the studies. They will need support. But just, that Tungamrai Madzokere had a problem with his wife. So when he came out of jail, he had a situation to deal with. He's now a bachelor forced by this imprisonment. So I don't know whether the families will be able to work together and resolve the issue. I did, when the judgment was announced, the Supreme Court ruling, on that morning I was in Johannesburg visiting my family, and I was not able to see them during that time. But so far, I've managed to meet Madzokere, and I've managed to go to his home in Glenview, and I spent some time with him and his two sisters, Olin and Mavis. I missed out on last week, but this week I have an appointment with Last and Tunga. We need to discuss the way forward, because remember, I used to coordinate the Last and Tunga Solidarity Movement, and we need to redefine its future now to say, how do we move forward? Because at that time, we're assuming that we're saving them while they're incarcerated. Now that they are out of incarceration, we need to find a way to adapt to that situation. And the meeting that I'm having with them is to discuss the practical nitty-gritties around the transitioning now that they are out. And we'll see, I think in the next few days here in Harare, I'll be able to meet them and we'll discuss the way forward. Because it's not an end in itself being released from Chikurubi. It's the beginning of a new dimension to their lives. And it might be even more difficult now. So I would say to the viewers and listeners, now more than ever, Mayenga Ama and Madzokere need our solidarity. Now more than ever, because that process of adjusting, of transitioning, will need a lot of emotional and financial support. And we need to stand with them so that everyone who incarcerate opposition activists and civil society activists is taught a lesson that solidarity in Zimbabwe is big. So even if you try to isolate and attack some of us, we will close ranks and protect and defend our own. So solidarity must be the hallmark of the struggle. Because if we are seeing that we are not protecting our own, it will encourage the regime to continue to victimize some of us one by one. So we need to close ranks and support each other.
Powerful, yes. And talking about solidarity, there is, our viewers and listeners, there is a link, a GoFundMe link that we have here that we are going to post here, so that those who want to help Tunga, and his fellow comrade can do that. The GoFundMe has been posted right there, and Honorable Molokele will be waiting to hear from you after you've met all of them, to see how best we can help them, because definitely they need as much help as we can give them. These two don't even know where to go and start. They can't even look for a job. Anyway, there are no jobs in Zimbabwe. So it's our case to help them.
It's a pity there were 2 million jobs that were promised that they could have benefited from, but were struggling to identify where those 2 million jobs went to. They could have gotten 2 out of those 2 million.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. We know that there's been nothing. The government has done nothing, and it will not do anything. Even if we give them another 100 years, those 2 million jobs will not come. I just want to go back a little to the Malava case. Do you think Malava can still go back to work? Does he have any legal ground to bounce back? Because I think Zimbabweans don't even want to see him anywhere near any court. Is there any way that he can claw back into the justice system of Zimbabwe?
My brother, being Chief Justice of this country is not a popularity contest. Neither is it a democratic process. It is about appointments. And as you know, Second Amendment has happened already. The power to appoint the Chief Justice now rests in one individual, the president. And the president in this particular context is a big admirer of Malava. And they work together, they are partners. So those who think that Malava is out of this race, those who think Malava is out, they are totally mistaken. Because if you look at the past 2 weeks, all the judgments have favored him, including the one on contempt of court. So you will see that the man is back, and the man is most likely to remain there for the next 5 years, because he's an enforcer in the judiciary for the political elite. So those who are celebrating, they must not forget that it was just a temporary setback. In football, we have the first half. You don't win a soccer match in the first half. You have to prepare for the second half, because the game can turn on its head in the second half. And as we speak right now, we should not continue to celebrate. We should actually be vigilant, because I believe the counterattack is massive. And as I see things right now, Malava is the upper end.
That's really sad news. I don't think Zimbabweans were expecting to hear something like that. I was happy that he was out, but if there's any possibility that we have Malava, going into 2023, then it's really sad news to all of us. But then we want to discuss other things, Honorable Molokele. To all Zimbabweans that are just joining us live on Change Radio and right here on Zim I, we are talking to Honorable Molokele here. He has just touched on the 2 major court cases, the Malava case and the Tunga and Madzokere case. And now we're moving on to another hot issue that is engulfing Zimbabwe right now. Voter registration, we are seeing civic society, we are seeing ordinary Zimbabweans, political parties, the MDC Alliance, our youth on a 1 million men campaign, the Women Assembly also doing something. I know the main wing is also doing voter registration or encouraging people to do voter registration. What's going on in your constituents? Are you onto something? Are you registering? Are you assisting people? Are there any numbers? Because one thing that people have been saying is MDC is just gathering people around. They go there, they start putting pictures on WhatsApp, saying doing voter education and encouraging people to register. But is there any data that is being kept? Do we have any numbers that we have that have been registered? Maybe you can start with your own constituents and then you can talk about the party itself.
Okay, thank you, my brother. I think the most important point to say with regards to your question is that a lot of people think that the elections are in 2023. They are being mistaken. The elections have already started. The preliminary process is around delimitation, is around voter registration. And those who are about the rigging, it starts now. It doesn't need to wait for 2023. So you will see that there is a contestation around the numbers. You will see that ZEC is saying so small numbers and the opposition is freaking out because it's clear that more people should have registered by now. You will see that a lot of school leavers, for example, those who were born after the year 2000, most of them were not able to vote in 2018, but we have 3 or 4 years after 2018. So if you were born in 2002 or 2003, you are now able to vote. And most of these people in 2018 were doing Form 3, Form 4, Form 5, and so on. So every year we've got about 400,000 O-level school leavers. It could be more actually. And then we've got another 200,000 A-level or so. So that whole group of an average of about 500,000 per year are not necessarily registered voters. That's why the youth are talking about the 1 million campaign, because there are a lot of unregistered voters who were not 18 years old in 2018. So they are going to be relevant in the election in 2023. So there is a contestation around the registration of voters because at the end of the day, it is a numbers game. When you are playing the rigging game, the most and important principle is numbers. The less people are voting, the less people are registering, the easier for the opposition to be rigged against, the better for the ruling party to rig. So in Wange, we're a bit behind because at the moment we're struggling to, at least from the MDC Alliance point of view, we're setting up our branch structures and we're using the branch formation process to also mobilize voter registration to encourage people to vote. And we hope that even after the structures have been set up properly, because our branches are polling station based, after we've set them up properly, we'll continue as the year progresses and next year to do voter awareness campaigns to encourage the locals, especially those who relocated to Wange after 2018. They may be registered elsewhere, so we have to encourage them to register in a local polling station. But more importantly, the school leavers, the young, the youth, those who did not vote in 2018 because they were 15 years old, they were 16 years old. We want to target that group. That's why it's important to support the 1 million campaign, because it's a huge constituency and it is a big factor in the election for 2023.
But Honorable, a lot of people here have been saying, why encourage people to go and vote when we know that ZANU-PF is going to rig anyway? Can you maybe educate people on that? Because some are saying it's pointless even to go to the elections.
I agree, it's a very important concern. But I think Professor Jonathan Moyo said ZANU-PF cannot reform itself out of power. So if you expect ZANU-PF to reform itself out of power, then you are a political novice. So it's important for the opposition to make sure that more people get registered. Even more important, to make sure that more people vote. Because the higher the number of people who are voting, the harder for the ruling party to rig the elections. But if few people vote, it's easier to play with the numbers, because there will be no one out there to defend the vote. And then there's a very important fundamental difference between 2018 and 2023. If you check in 2018, the MDC Alliance did not have structures at the polling station level. They had structures at the ward level. So now in 2023, the MDC Alliance will be having structures at a polling station level. So we'll definitely encourage our members, our supporters to mile around polling station level and defend the vote and make sure that they're protected. So strategies will be different. I think at the end of the day, when the people are visible on the ground, it's harder to rig. It's always easier to rig if people are inside their homes on WhatsApp and watching TV. Then everyone will be told
looks like
defending the vote
looks like
later.
Okay, there you are. We lost you for a minute.
Yes, I was saying it's important for Zimbabweans to go and register to vote, and more important for them to go out and vote, because the greater the turnout of voters, the harder for the system to rig. And also, we now have polling station-based branches, which were not there in 2018. So we should be able to come up with strategies around our local structures at polling station level to help to defend the vote on the streets. So yes, we encourage Zimbabweans to vote. Even those who are in the diaspora, you have to fight for your vote. If you don't win the case against the diaspora vote, you have to come and vote in person. Every vote counts. In elections, every vote counts. The Constitution says the president can win by 50% plus one vote.
Yes.
So every vote counts.
Yes, yes. And I think, Honorable, you can also address the issue of the people in the diaspora. Most of them, obviously, maybe they cannot travel to Zimbabwe to go and register, and then maybe to go and vote in 2023. But they have a role to play. They can work with people like you, members of parliament and councillors and all the other people to just make sure that people go and register to vote. I think one of the biggest issues that you are facing in your constituents is the issue of transport. Some people cannot afford to take out that $1 or that $2 to jump in a bus or combi to go and register. And I think people in the diaspora can, come in there and, help their villagers, help their constituencies, and help Zimbabweans to go and register to vote.
It's true, my brother. I agree with you. It's very true. We need to allow the diaspora to play its role in this process. They need to support by any means necessary. Some you have to come physically, register to vote, come physically to vote for change. Some have to contribute financially to create publicity and awareness around voter registration, to create logistical support like transport and food for those who want to go out and register, or those who are mobilizing people to go out and register, and so on. So everyone has a part to play. If you're in the diaspora, don't despair. You can physically participate, you can virtually participate. Especially access to information is a big issue in elections, and the diaspora is strongly positioned to help circulate information and latest developments. So let's not fold our hands as the diaspora. Let's not give up on this country. Let's play our part. You never know how important your role is. Even to just phone your relatives to encourage them to go and register to vote, to encourage them to go and vote, to send them money to go out and vote. It's very important.
Yes, yes. And before I give you time to round up, Honorable, let's just go to our viewers here and see what they are saying. How are you, Chief Atafilenyika? Libata, Kwakati, how are you, Honorable Molokele? I salute you, Honorable Sylvester Mugoti, and the thanks leaders. Blessing Jaravani, welcome back, Chief. Thank you so much for that. Ivu for no crime. Emmanuel Nyakonda saying evil for no crime. Yes, I think he's referring to our two comrades there. We need a diaspora vote, Plaxi. And then Skumbuzo Banda is saying, my honorable member of parliament, so proud of you. And then we have the GoFundMe there. please click on the link and let's help our two comrades, Last Mainga Hama and Tunga Madzokere. They really need our support. So just click on that and just forgo your lunch, just forgo your McDonald's, for today, and put that $10. It will go a long way in helping our comrades. Malava is a Malawian. His surname is Malamba. Well, there is some information coming in there. Ana Sununguro Magadi Tete Mbaiwa, and they aren't issuing IDs nor passports. ZANU-PF sitting on that. Obviously, they're trying to minimize the number of people that we are able to register. Back to you, Honorable Molokele. You have been very busy trying to help people, the solidarity that we are talking about. We saw you over the weekend in at Lenmo Jongwesa house in, is it Gokwe? You've been there, I think, 3 times in the past couple of months. How is it going? Can you give us updates on that? And what's going on with Makomborero Aruzivishe? Is he getting any support? Can people do something? Are you yourself going to visit him the way you used to visit Madzokera and Last?
Thank you so much. I think there are 2 preliminary points that I need to highlight to our listeners and viewers. The first one is that solidarity is the hallmark of our movement. Our movement is built on solidarity. With our trade union foundation, we say injure one, injure us all. So it's very important for us as a movement. By movement, I mean the People's Movement. By the People's Movement, I mean the MDC Alliance. By the MDC Alliance, I mean the political party that is led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. So what I'm saying is we need to understand that solidarity is one of our hallmarks as a movement. And our solidarity must be practical. It must be social, it must be economical, it must be political, it must be emotional. And whatever happens to any of our colleagues or comrades or our cadres, we must close ranks, defend each other, support each other. It will discourage the enemy from attacking us. So solidarity is very important. And then the second point I wanted to say is that we actually have a social welfare secretary. We've got Maureen Kademaunga. She is our secretary for social welfare. So as a movement, we need to rally behind her. We need to support her and the team and the committee to make sure that they have enough resources to cater for the cases that we have. Remember that there are some cases that are high profile, but it does mean we do not have other political prisoners in this country. So if we focus on 2 or 3 superstars, we forget about the rest, and our solidarity becomes elitist and our solidarity becomes biased. So it's important to strengthen the Department of Social Welfare to make sure that every cadre, every comrade, wherever they are, even though they do not have any Twitter hangouts, or if they do not have any hashtags around them, they are still important. So we must protect each and every one of our comrades. And the Social Welfare Department is the most important sort of strategically placed structure and institution that we have in our movement. So Maureen Kademaunga is our Secretary for Welfare. So let's rally behind it and support her. Having said that, I personally did some of these things because I want to practice solidarity. And where I feel I have capacity, and with my level of organizational capacity, because some of you forget, Chief, they forget that when I was 20 years old, I was elected as Secretary General at the University of Zimbabwe, before I even wrote my first exam at law school. So I've got almost 25 years of experience of managing institutions and so on. So people underrate me, but it's fine. But you should take some time and read my CV. So the most important thing is I use some of my skills and expertise to make sure that the solidarity that we have becomes more real and more practical. So with Maengama and Madzokere, it wasn't my intention to help them. I was asked to intervene, and I tried my best. And I think I did my best, and God did the rest. So I'm not the type to claim credit, to rush onto social media, to rush onto tweets and the hashtags. I'm not the type. I want a relationship. So with me, it's about the one-on-one influence that I have. And I'm more satisfied by the personal impact that I have. And in Jombe, it's not in Gokwe, by the way, it's in Jombe.
Jombe, yes.
In Samambwa village. That is where the late Lenmo Jongwe is resting. Samamba village is where his mother is, his brother is, his other family members are. And in some remote parts of Midlands, you go through Empress Mine and you go deeper and deeper into rural Midlands. And there is no proper infrastructure there. There are no proper roads there. So that's when we took advantage of these twin cabs that we have. And we said, okay, this is one of the occasions where the twin cab becomes a very practical car. I know some people say it's a luxury car, but this is one of those instances where it becomes useful. And I managed to mobilize resources, mostly through fellow parliamentarians, mostly through fellow party leaders, civil society leaders, former student leaders, because Lenmo Jongwe originally comes from the University of Zimbabwe, at least from my point of view, because I only met him in 1995, and he was my classmate for 4 years at law school. And he helped me. When I campaigned to be in SRC, he was one of the people who campaigned for me. And the next year, he contested against me. I was his vice president, and he was my president. We were together also at Zinasu. He joined me there. I started Zinasu before Lenmo was in SRC. When he won being president at UZ, he continued the legacy that I had started. So we worked closely together, both as vice president and president of Zinasu, and also as vice president and president of the University of Zimbabwe Students' Union. So we have a brotherhood, a political brotherhood. So when things did not go well for him, when he passed away, the tragedy that affected him, I'm one of the people who felt personally affected. It's easy for people to dismiss Jongwe's life and interpret it in the context of the last 3 to 6 months of his life. But me, I count his life from 1995. And my narrative is about a young man who came from a very humble beginning, full of intelligence, full of vision and ambition, a naturally born leader. That's my understanding of who Lenmo Jongwe was. And so beyond this narrative of his tragic end, I try my best that 50 years from now, Lenmo Jongwe does not get remembered as a martyr. I want other people to see another. I want people to see the other side of his life. So as his political brother, I also want to protect the social welfare of his family. That's why I've been going to Jombe. That's why we've come up with strategies to support the mother and so on, and to ensure that the tears in memory of Lenmo do not run dry without her getting any help. So I'm working closely, especially with the Jombe Triple C, with Tim Kulu there and others. The former MP is there, Tazwana, Honorable Tazwana. We've got our shadow MP is there, Honorable Mafumo. So I'm working with the colleagues there, and we're also working now to establish the bar there. So there's a lot that is happening. And we look forward to coming up with a sustainable way, not just to deal with groceries, but also infrastructurally, especially the whole setup around the home. So we want people to know that when a hero passes on, we do not forget their families. We do not forget the beloved ones, those around them. Some of you do not know, but from around 2012, I was working closely with the family for the Mushas and supporting Jongwe's daughter, Tawana, with school fees. And she went through primary school and secondary education. I was one of the people who was mobilizing resources. But like I said, you can't go on top of the mountain and say, see me, I'm doing this. I think as a Christian, it's more important for me to do things because they're a practical need. And God who sees from heaven will give me my just reward. So I'm that kind of person who says, if God is seeing me, then the public is seeing me. I don't need to worry about Twitter and Facebook and whatever clapping hands for me. As long as I've impressed God, I know that God will also make sure that everyone else is impressed. So yes, we're supporting Lenmo Jongwe, and we are going to support many more other people. I really feel as a movement, we need to make sure that families and friends of our fallen heroes or our living heroes who are in a situation, we need to come up with ways to support them. The economy is not good, but it's not an excuse to say that we can't do anything. And each person should play their own part. I think if you read the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah teaches us a very important principle. He says, build the wall in front of your house. Build the wall in front of your house. Which means if you build the wall in front of your house and everyone else does so, the wall will completely circumvent the city. The wall will completely surround the city. So I want to say, you don't need to do solidarity for everyone. Where you feel you have a heart for, you have a concern for, I tried with Maenga Aman Matsokere. I've been trying with Lenmo Jongwe. There are many other cases like that. But I can only play a specific part. And if everyone else did what I'm doing, we will be able to protect our own. There is a clear case of Itai Zamara, his family, and so on. That's another example. Tondera Indira. There are a lot of them. So we need to find ways to follow them up and make sure that people don't say, these people, they were activists, these people died. The politicians have forgotten them. The opposition movement doesn't care about them. Patrick Nabanyama, all those kind of people. So we really need to find ways to support their families and so on.
Thank you, Honorable. And as we round up, I'll give you time to just give us your closing remarks. You erroneously didn't talk about Makomborera Rizivashe, and people are asking here, is he getting the things that he needs in jail, or he is, just out there in the cold alone? Can people help? What can we do? What can people do? I mean, it looks like everyone is now coming to you because you have been doing such a good job, in solidarity, helping other people. Maybe people also want you to go out there and talk to Makomborero and maybe start something for him.
Yeah, but I think, my brother, there is a risk that people will confuse me as the Secretary for Social Welfare, which I'm definitely not. I've got my own strengths, but this is definitely not what I want to do. So it's true that I've even heard people saying, now that Maenga and Matsokera are out, can you also start a movement around Makomborero the way you did it? And I'm like, guys, you are forgetting that there's a Secretary for Social Welfare, Maureen Kademaunga. Can you please acknowledge her office? Can you please support her office, work closely with her, and make sure that she gets all the support that she needs? Because the movement is not an individual organization. It is an institution, which is a community. And if we've got office holders that we have given trust to facilitate a particular role, we need to acknowledge them and respect them. So I don't want to be seen in competition with Maureen Kademaunga. I want to be seen as someone who complements the work that she's doing, and she's doing her best under the difficult circumstances. So I'm a bit reluctant in starting another solidarity movement for Mako, but I'm working closely with people around Mako. Some of the people are like me. I mean, let's give an example. Wellington Maoma, he's just a simple man. He doesn't want to have accolades around him. He's just a practical person. And I get inspired by him. We've been talking, and I'm talking to him, and we'll see how we can help Mako. But we have got Zinasu. They've been coming out strongly, the student leaders that we have. Incidentally, I have a different feeling when I see student leaders from Zinasu, because in 1996, when this journey started of reviving Zinasu in Cape Town, it actually started at the University of Western Cape in July 1996. That's when I went there, and people told me, where is your own organization? I had gone there as UZ. And I said to the SASO Secretary General at that time, Azaka Benji, I promise you that when I go back to Zimbabwe, I will help revive the Students' Union. And today, I can safely say, 25 years later, I can safely say that I feel so overwhelmed when I see Comrade Taku and Chiriga and all those kind of student leaders who have had over the years. I mean, who doesn't know that Zinasu has produced a lot of leaders for this country, whether they are for the MDC Alliance, whether they are for the civil society, whether for the captains of industry. We produced a lot of leaders. And I am grateful to God that something that started in Cape Town in July 1996 has brought us where we are today. And we say, let's hope Zinasu will continue to produce more leaders for this country. And please, can we make sure that we will continue to build Zinasu, the Zimbabwe National Students' Union? It's got a lot of competition around Zikosu, which is funded by the state, which is funded by ZANU-PF, and is an antagonist in the student movement, while Zinasu is the protagonist. So there are elections happening in different universities and institutions for learning. Right now, there are elections at the University of Zimbabwe, and we need to channel all the support morally, emotionally, financially to the candidates from Zinasu, because Zinasu lives because of people's support. So we want to encourage people to support the candidate. He's called Sankara. That's what he calls himself. So he's the next president of the University of Zimbabwe Students' Union. And we need to support him. The elections will be finished off later this month. They are in batches. He's already won the first round and is now going for the second round. Remember, Chief, remember that when you talk about student leaders, we're not just talking about leaders of tomorrow. We're talking about leaders of today.
Yes.
The future begins now. So we must make sure that we have the right student leaders in our campuses. They are very strategically placed to be the vanguard of the democratic revolution of this country. If you have got student leaders that are sellouts, student leaders that are funded by the state, by ZANU-PF, then they are going to sell out the people of Zimbabwe. So it's very important to acknowledge the leadership across the country in institutions for higher learning and make sure that it is politically correct and it is a people-oriented leadership. As a former student leader, I always say the students are the voice of the voiceless. So we need student leaders who are going to articulate the agenda of the masses. And if they are from Zikoso, I doubt that they have that capacity. So it's important that we support ZINASU candidates and that they win. So long live ZINASU. ZINASU lives.
Yes, and long live Honorable Molokele. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing. And there are two people here who are writing, and you are a good speaker. I have seen now another side of yours. And Michael Moyo says, Honorable Molokele, I've been following you for a while now. Keep up the good work, say. It looks like, okay, there he is. I thought we had lost you. But yeah, some accolades are coming through here on Zimai and Change Radio. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time. We appreciate all the advice, all the knowledge, all the information that you've given us. And I think you still had a lot more left. So I think we should bring you back sometime next weekend so that we continue with these discussions. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for standing with Last Mainga Ama, standing with Tunga Madzokere, standing with Lenmo Jongwesa family, and taking care of his daughter, and all the work that you are doing in your constituency and in the struggle. We appreciate you. And to our viewers and listeners here on Zimai and Change Radio, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next weekend, Padare na Chief. Thank you so much. God bless you. Zimbabweans, Chief Shoshe signing off. Honorable, thank you so much.
Chisa Mpama Chisa.
Chisa.
Chamisa oye.
Oye.
MDC Alliance oye.
Oye.
Ezoko.
Wow. Thank you, leader. Thank you so much. We appreciate
it. Good.
Achanga achivhota 2023.
Bye for now.
Tisafa takatarisire ZANU-PF ichiti by 2023 after my election ndichakuitirai zvakati nezvakati nezvakati. Chigaro zivai kutoti yatonyepa ipapo. Zvakafanana nekuti iwe musikana ukandida ndakuroora ndogara newe ndaane vana ndichazokuitira zvakati kosi ndaane vana. Saka ZANU-PF haifaniri kuti ndichakuitirai zvakati, inofanira kuti itoita. Ndicharimemba Muzenda achapona wakasvike kuchipinge kwedu, wakabva asvike pachikoro chimwe chozi Mndanda Primary School, wakabva atora mapole emagesi obva amadonhedza ipapo. Mapoles emagesi anokwana kuti about 200. Akandiroda kuunze magesi pamundanda kuno nepachikoro pana ndokunza magesi, vanhu vakafara vakamuvhotera ZANU-PF ikawina. Nazvino zvinhu matanda emagetsi yo mapole iwa achipo izvezvi. ZANU-PF yakafanana house girl anonyepera mwana wabasi kuti wadya chikafu asina kudya, anotora chikafu chacho yodya, otora porridge obva azoza muromo imwana kuti mwana wadya waguta. Ndo mabasa eZANU-PF iwayo. ZANU-PF haifaniri kuti ndichakuitirai zvakati. ZANU-PF ngaichitoite izvezvi. Mukaona yati vauya kokambena muarea menyu woti tichakuunzirai mbeu, tichakuunzirai fertilizer, ziye kuti hakuna chinouya, yatopedza. Saka chandoda kuzivisai vana veZimbabwe, kambeni yeopposition party nekambeni yeruling party inofanira kusiyana. Opposition party ndiyo ine power yekuti kana ndawina ndichakuitirai zvakati, because haimwo pakutungamira nekugavhena.